Hello everyone, and welcome to Mythic Journeys. Today we're going to be telling you the story of the cursed painting. This is a story of horror, evil, and the supernatural. It's a story that will stay with you long after you've finished listening. So, without further ado, let's begin.
The Cursed Painting. The old, dilapidated house stood on the outskirts of town, its windows boarded up and its paint peeling. It had been abandoned for years, and rumors swirled about its dark past. Some said it was haunted by the ghost of a murdered woman, while others claimed that it was a portal to another dimension. One day, a group of teenagers decided to explore the house. They had heard the stories, but they didn't believe them. They thought it would be fun to spend a night in the old house and see what happened. The teenagers broke into the house and made their way through the dusty rooms. They found old furniture covered in sheets, cobwebs hanging from the ceilings, and a thick layer of dust on everything. They came to a room at the end of the hallway. The door was closed, but they could see a faint light coming from inside. They pushed open the door and stepped inside. The room was empty except for a large painting on the wall. The painting was of a woman, but her face was hidden in the shadows. The teenagers gathered around the painting and stared at it. "It's creepy," said one of the teenagers. "Yeah, it's like she's staring at us," said another. "Maybe we should leave," said a third teenager. But the other teenagers didn't want to leave. They were curious about the painting. They wanted to know who the woman was and why she was in the painting. One of the teenagers reached out and touched the painting. As soon as his fingers made contact with the canvas, the painting began to glow. The teenagers stepped back in surprise. The painting continued to glow, and the woman's face began to emerge from the shadows. The woman's face was twisted into a malevolent grin. Her eyes were red and glowing, and her teeth were sharp and pointed. The teenagers screamed in terror and ran from the room. They burst out of the house and into the night. They ran until they couldn't run anymore. They collapsed on the ground, exhausted and terrified. They looked back at the house, but it was gone. In its place was a gaping hole in the ground. The teenagers never spoke of what they had seen that night, but they all knew that they had been cursed by the painting. Years later, one of the teenagers, now a grown man, was walking down the street when he saw a familiar painting in a shop window. It was the cursed painting. The man stopped and stared at the painting. He couldn't believe it. He had thought the painting was destroyed. He went inside the shop and asked the shopkeeper about the painting. "Where did you get this?" the man asked. "I found it in an old house," the shopkeeper replied. "It was in a room at the end of a hallway. The door was closed, but I could see a faint light coming from inside. I pushed open the door and stepped inside." The shopkeeper stopped talking and looked at the man in surprise. "You know this painting?" the shopkeeper asked. The man nodded. "Yes, I do," he said. "It's a cursed painting." The shopkeeper laughed. "A cursed painting?" he said. "That's ridiculous." "I'm serious," the man said. "This painting is evil. It will bring you nothing but misfortune." The shopkeeper shook his head. "I don't believe you," he said, "but I appreciate the warning." The man turned and walked out of the shop. He knew that he had to do something to stop the painting from falling into the wrong hands. He went to the police and told them about the painting. But the police didn't believe him. They thought he was crazy. The man knew that he was on his own. He had to stop the painting himself. He went back to the shop and bought the painting. He took it home and locked it in a safe in his basement. He knew that the painting was still dangerous. Even though it was locked away, he had to find a way to destroy it. He did some research on cursed paintings and found a ritual that he thought might work. He gathered the necessary ingredients and performed the ritual. The ritual was long and complicated, but it eventually worked. The painting was destroyed. The man was relieved. He knew that the painting was no longer a threat. But he also knew that the curse was still alive. It was inside of him now. He began to experience strange things. He had nightmares about the painting. He saw the woman's face everywhere he looked. He knew that the curse was trying to consume him. He had to fight it.
And that's the end of the story of the cursed painting. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked this story, please be sure to like and subscribe to my channel for more stories of horror, myth, and legend. And until next time, stay safe and have a good night.